Thank you for tuning in to Macroview Television and welcome to a brand new edition of Taiwan Outlook, the program that presents the people and their stories on Taiwan. I'm your host, Ray Guo. Films made in Taiwan have done reasonably well in recent years at international and regional film festivals. On today's program, we're going to find out more about what are the opportunities and challenges ahead for films made in Taiwan or about Taiwan. We will have a conversation with Mr. Lin Wen-Chi, who's currently the Chief Executive of Taiwan Film Institute. Welcome to our program, Mr. Lin.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the program. First, Mr. Lin, you're currently the Chief Executive of Taiwan Film Institute, TFI. Can you tell us a little bit about TFI? When was it founded? What was the background for forming the institute? And what are some of the functions and missions for the TFI?
Okay. We were formerly the Chinese Taipei Film Archive.
Okay.
Before that, we were a film library.
Okay.
In 1978. Mm-hmm. So it has been 35 years.
Okay.
Last year, I think thanks to Minister Long In-tai,
okay,
who would like to promote us, to give us more mission.
Mm-hmm.
So we were upgraded from Chinese Taipei Film Archive,
okay,
whose main mission was to preserve films made in Taiwan,
okay,
and other countries. And now we are given more mission. Other than the preservation job,
okay,
we are given the mission to promote Taiwan cinema overseas.
All right.
To help Taiwan documentary filmmakers,
okay,
to host to organize the Taiwan International Documentary Film Festival,
okay,
as well as film education. So a lot of
good
work.
We're going to cover all those issues
okay.
later on in the program. And Mr. Lin, let me ask you, there's been a lot of interest about films made in Taiwan in recent years. As we have mentioned, directors like Ann Lee and also Hou Xiaoxian have done well at international film festivals.
Yeah.
How do you then explain, in your perspective, about this recent interest, emergence of interest, also the development of Taiwanese films? Please.
Taiwan enjoyed a very successful
yes.
prosperity commercial era in the from mid-60s to mid-70s.
Yes.
And then we lost that tradition.
Oh, right.
In the early 1980s, the Taiwan New Cinema came out,
yes.
Surprised the world with very new film language, new style.
Okay.
And so Hou Xiaoxian, Edward Yang became the well-known world
directors.
Masters.
Yes.
And in the 90s, I think Tsai Ming-liang and An Li continued that tradition. So we made really, really amazing films.
Yes.
So I think the tradition is always there. It's just that over the years, with more new films coming out from all over the world,
yes.
So I think we didn't shine that bright.
Okay.
But An Li, Hou Xiaoxian, and if Edward Yang didn't die,
yes.
I think Taiwan New Cinema would still, I think,
There's a lot of potential.
Yeah, yeah. I think Hou Xiaoxian's Assassin.
Okay. All right.
It's just a new.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of new brand of the wuxia martial art movie.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. And Mr. Lin, we understand that TFI has now many different tasks.
Yeah.
Many different missions. Like what you said, you want to, in addition, promote the films made in Taiwan. But still, the restoration and the preservation of films still one of your major tasks at TFI.
Very much.
And can you explain that a little more to us, both in terms of the technical capabilities? Are we really well prepared to do that? And second, in terms of some of the films might have been lost or irreparably damaged, how do we do about those films that are hard to, reclaim or hard to reach?
Yeah. I think film preservation is still the core mission of TFI.
Okay.
And we are lucky to preserve films made as early as 1915, 16 documentaries. Okay. So it's really our treasure. It's just that not many people know that we have such a great treasure in Taiwan. Okay. So in terms of capability, I think we really lag behind many film archives in the world.
All right.
We just got a scanner last month.
Okay. Very recently.
Yeah, yes. And a high-quality scanner is what can help us to scan the films, films on 35 mil, what we call 35 millimeter films, or even 16 millimeter.
Yes.
Yeah, and those films, unfortunately, they deteriorate
fairly quickly.
Yeah, yes. Especially when we don't have enough budget to provide them with a really low temperature and good humidity-controlled environment.
Yes.
That's what we are working on. But with the scanner, I think we are now at least equipped to turn more films into digital format.
Good.
And with more budget, we hope to turn them back into film again. That's considered the best way to preserve films.
Okay. Yes, you have a copy digital.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we look forward to work with local companies or even train our staff to be able to what we call digitally restore or repair the films frame by frame.
All right.
So over I think in the past 4 years, we, even without equipment, we were able to work with laboratories in Italy, in Japan, in Taiwan, and we restored films like Kin Hu's Dragon Inn,龍門客棧, A Touch of Zen, 俠女.
Yes.
Both films were selected by Cannes Film Festival and really got international acclaim. So we were very happy.
Okay.
And we are looking forward to send more films to these festivals.
Good.
And so for the second question, I think it's really a sad story. Taiwan made, I think, more than 1,800 films in Taiwanese dialect, what we call 台语片, or Taiwanese dialect films.
Hoklop, yes.
And we now only have slightly more than 200 left.
All right.
And all the rest are gone.
Are gone.
Yeah. And once in a while, one or two films might be found, discovered.
Yes.
Yeah. So like last year, the first films made in 35 millimeter format in Taiwanese is called 薛平贵与王宝钏.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
Yeah. Very, very few people have seen that. It's a Taiwanese opera film.
All right.
And it was considered the first film of 台语片.
All right.
But it was considered lost. No one has seen it for many, many years. And last year, thanks to our former director, Jin Yin-rui 老师, they found it in Miaoli. And so we now could see what it was like almost 60 years ago, 1956.
Okay.
So that's one difficulty, where to find the lost films.
Yes.
And even with films left, they are in such bad condition.
All right.
So we really need more budget. We need more talented staff to save those films.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think many films are saved.
All right.
And we see good examples, and we really want to follow up on that.
All right. But, yeah, I mean, Mr. Lin, do you often run into a situation, for example, some of the older films, the copyrights may be retained by the director or the producer, and they might have been passed on to younger generation, their kids and grandkids. And when you, even if you find the film, you approach the family members and ask them to, turn it over to the, TFI.
Yeah.
Do they have some reluctance or do they have some resistance? Do you run into that situation often?
Not many.
Not many, okay. And they're usually very supportive.
Yes, or now we are in the digital era.
Yes.
And those films, those celluloid films, they are very difficult to keep.
Yes.
They smell.
Yeah.
So once they smell like vinegar, what we call vinegar syndrome, they are already bad. And so, for example, we received a lot of films donated to us or given away
by
the laboratories, by private collectors.
Yes.
They realized that they could no longer keep the films.
Okay.
Yeah, those films need special care.
All right.
So that's really not the problem now. I think we got a whole bunch of film from the government.
Okay.
From the ministry.
All right.
Yeah, they made a lot of films.
Of course.
So the problem now is really, are there more that are left unknown in probably some basement or at the back of a theater.
All right.
That's what we want to find out.
All right. So in the next hour or so, let's try to promote TFI so people know if they have all the films available, they can turn it over to your institute and have them restored. And Mr. Lin, we've been talking about the development of Taiwan films over the years. But, I can still remember, because I love the movies, I can still remember when I was younger. I used to go to, theaters to watch, Bruce Lee movies, the martial arts, some of the, Taiwanese films that you mentioned may be too early for me. But, over the years, we have also seen the 70s and 80s, a lot of the romantic comedies, people like Lin Qingxia, Lin Fengjiao, Qin Han, Qin Xiangling, or Qin Erling, that area. And also later on that we have a new generation of, young directors. As you mentioned, they were young, and the Hou Xiaoxian, they emerged, and we pay more attention to, what's available, what are the materials available in Taiwan about the culture, about the society, about the history. Yeah. So can you give us a recap, as the chief executive of TFI, of the film development in Taiwan over the last 50, 60 years, please?
It's a long history, although it seems short.
Yes.
And over the years, we didn't really pay enough attention to this history. Yes. So many of our young generation don't even know we had such a glorious past in terms of film industry. Yeah. I think when the nationalist government came to Taiwan, they brought some filmmakers, some equipment.
Yes.
So there was a tradition of the Mandarin filmmaking in 3 studios, all owned by the government.
Yes.
One belongs to the education and agricultural department. One is the party, Kuomintang.
Yes. And the other one
is the ministry.
Oh, ministry. Okay.
The military. I'm sorry.
Military.
Yeah.
Okay.
Film was considered a very important propaganda tool.
Avenue. Yes.
Yeah. I just visited the Chinese Film Archive at Beijing. Their vote were built to even prevent the nuclear weapon. Yeah, and they had armed soldiers guarding the vote area. So, so that was very, very impressive. Yes. Here in Taiwan, I think we didn't enjoy that kind of attention. Films were kept in votes. Most of the votes we have are rented, so they are kind of forgotten. Okay. So as the history. So when the Mandarin film tradition was always there, and it was a good tradition, but the films made were more like anti-communism, more educational. But starting from what I just mentioned, 1956, some Taiwanese filmmakers, not filmmakers, they were probably Taiwanese opera group owners or company owners. They began to see that what was called the 下雨片, I think Amoy film were enjoyed popularity because the language was similar. So they began to make Taiwanese films.
Exactly.
And starting from then, a new tradition came out. It's a local tradition. It's like films made while the filmmakers were learning how to make films. And it was a very interesting tradition. Many kinds of films were tried. So we had films like 大侠梅花鹿. It's a costumed film. Actors wore like animal costumes, and they acted out a like for a kind of children's story. Yeah, we also had the films very much like Western films, so based on Hollywood films. And so this tradition was Taiwanese, but due to the language policy of the government, at the time, dialects were kind of like banned, but it was not really, the policy was not strictly enforced. So there were still Taiwanese films could sneak into theaters. But many Taiwanese films were dubbed in Mandarin. So a lot of films that are left are now in Mandarin only. For example, we just restored a film called something like Heaven Code No. 1. It's a spy film. Starring Ke Junxiong, who just passed away, and Bai Hong. It was in Mandarin. It's the only copy left. So we have to find someone to dub the film back into the original dialect, Taiwanese. So, and those companies didn't have enough, didn't have a lot of money, so they make, and they want to make money quick. So a lot of films were not that high quality, but it's a lot. There was a lot of films, and all in black and white. So the tradition kind of ended by the end of 1970s. No, 1960s. When the color film came out, when comedy came out, and that was more for urban viewers. So that was one tradition. Yeah, and then starting at the mid-1960s, we had like Dragon Inn. That's a sword fighting film. And that started a martial art film tradition. Yeah, and then the Chongyao, what we call literary romantic films. I think the first film that started the craze for this kind of genre was 彩云飞, starring Zhen Zhen and Deng Guangrong. And then Bridget Lin, Lin Qinxia, and Qin Han, Qin Xianglin. So those films were popular not just in Taiwan but also in regional. So that was really what we call the golden era.
And a lot of people would say that, Mr. Lin, films record history, also preserve the culture of the society. Would you agree with such an assessment?
Yeah, definitely. After I took the job as the first director, 2 years and a half ago, I discovered that we had a short newsreel film made in the 70s, and it recorded my elementary school. And there was a scene Right. That was when all the students and teachers were assembled for the morning flag raising ceremony.
Yes.
So there was a pan of the all the students.
Yes.
And after we scanned the film, I knew that it was my school, and I was very, very grateful.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any picture of the whole school, and the school was the buildings were all destroyed in 1999 with the earthquake.
Oh, okay.
And so I was very grateful. And now with the scanner, I could see myself.
You saw yourself?
Yes,
good.
Among the students.
All right.
Because the quality is
very good.
clear enough. So that's what films do.
Exactly.
The short film was made to promote what then called the 新生活运动.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the movement of new life.
New life.
Yeah, it's a kind of like propaganda, right?
Yes.
Yeah, to discipline the students.
Yes.
But it recorded my childhood.
Okay.
Yeah. And films like 王哥柳哥游台湾, it's like a Laurel and Hardy film.
Yes.
It's a comedy, so a slightly fat character and a very thin character, they tour
around
Taiwan. And so the film recorded all a lot of the famous tourist spots.
Yes.
Before they were kind of ruined by the modernization or urbanization. Okay. So you could still see what, for example, like Sun Moon Lake was like at that time, what Alishan was like. So in many of the films, or a film called 旧情绵绵, like Old Love, it was made at the Alishan. So it was Alishan when it was still Alishan. Yeah.
It's very different from today.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or some wedding ceremony
Okay.
recorded in a drama.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Mr. Lin, we have about 2 minutes left. I think a lot of people were mildly surprised when you mentioned earlier in the program that, you know, sometimes for the restoration and the preservation of the films, you need to travel to places like Italy to collaborate with people there or companies there to get them reserved. But, you know, preserved. But when you talk about Taiwan, we have a very solid, scientific, technological base in our economy. And people will say, that, how come we can't have a local, technical partner that will help the TFI to try to restore the films?
I think for many reasons, and it's a complicated issue. First, we didn't have enough budget because film preservation was not kind of like considered as a very important
priority.
So we asked for budget, and we didn't get what we needed. And secondly, when we asked for more advanced equipment. At one time, it was considered in Chinese called 语民争利. Like the technology or the job shouldn't be done by a government foundation.
Agency, yes.
It should be done by
the private sector.
But they didn't do it. So we had to wait until like right now.
Mr. Lin, what we're talking about, the different, functions that TFI does, and talking about the, films, made in Taiwan over the years. And let me ask you this: there's been, some interest or rising interest about the films, made in Taiwan. How do the films that we made, in Taiwan, compete with other films from other countries on the international stage? For example, whether it's the Academy Awards in the U.S. or some of the Berlin Film Festival, Venice, places. How have we, done in terms of competition with others?
Like Tsai Ming-liang's films, Hou Xiaoxin's films, they are always welcome. I think the Assassin
it's a very good example.
Yeah, it's a very good example of a Taiwan film masterpiece. But other than these, what we call veteran masters, young filmmakers, young directors, they they didn't enjoy that kind of spotlight.
No.
As Hou Xiaoxian or Cai Minliang did in the past. I think the competition is really, really...
it's getting very
fierce. It's tough.
Yes, it's very tough.
So, but once in a while we see creative films selected by these festivals. Yes. I would say that it's difficult because most directors or filmmakers, they had such a huge budget pressure.
Yes.
Yeah. So they, it's difficult for them to make films as they like, as they did in the past. Outside pressure or their inner pressure, like they really need to make some money to be able to continue to make film.
Okay.
But on the other hand, the commercial competition, we haven't got really a good example to show that, like for international audience. Recently, like 我的少女时代, I can't remember the English title. Enjoyed a very successful box office in Taiwan, in China, in Hong Kong, but it's only in the Asian region.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Our films, Taiwan films, find it very difficult to find international audience. I think due to the storytelling
is it
parts.
Materials and things?
Yeah, or our films are too local.
Okay.
Yeah, really a international films that could get into the international market need to have international story.
Yes, of course.
And that's, I think, what a lot of our filmmakers still need to learn.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we also understand that TFI, in a joint partnership with the Ministry of Culture, have now provide a service, to people who would like to, get to more information about Taiwanese films. A so-called, a cinema toolkit.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little more about such a project? What's been the reaction so far from people who have used the service?
Okay. It was started by, again, Minister Long In-tai 3 years ago. So we are preparing for the third year's DVDs.
Okay.
So the idea is to provide easy to access DVDs of Taiwan, selected Taiwan cinema, Taiwanese films, with English subtitles.
Okay.
And the films, the DVDs are sent to our foreign embassies, to Taiwan Academy.
Good.
So anyone interested in using these DVDs for like non-profit purpose could use them.
All right.
Yeah, with the collaboration of our foreign embassies.
Okay.
Or it's called TICO.
Yes.
The Trade and Cultural Office.
Yes.
And on the internet, we provide a website for teachers or film programmers. They could check the detailed information of these films.
Okay.
Yeah, with introduction, with trailers, like film clips. So far, I think we could of course do more. But so far we see that these films, DVDs, have been used for small screenings, and we are very happy about that. But starting from this year, we are sending like samples of these DVDs to film programmers and college teachers who are teaching Chinese cinema or Taiwanese cinema. We want them to know that here we have a lot of films they could use. Okay. And I have received responses.
Lot of inquiries.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think by providing these samples to the people who are most likely to take advantage of these toolkits, DVDs. I'm expecting
there will be more interest.
Yeah, more courses taught in Taiwan cinema subject, and maybe more events.
Okay, and we also understand that one of the major events that the TFI does is the so-called Taiwan International Documentary Festival.
Yes.
And this is of course, a very important event for TFI and for Taiwan cinema community at large.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on the project itself, and what are the things that we can look forward to in the festival this year, 2016?
Okay, it's a biennial event.
Okay.
We are going to organize the 10th edition.
Okay.
Next year.
Next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
We originally we were asked to turn it into a kind of annual event.
Yes.
But we still can't do that yet.
Okay.
So every 2 years, there it's a competition based film festival. So our audience could see very, very good documentaries coming from all over the world.
Okay.
This year we have received 1,700 films for the competition. So so you can and I think 40 to 50s will be selected.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. And so last year I went to a few of the screenings in a theater that have like 400 seats, and it's very. I was very surprised.
It's all packed.
Yeah, it's all packed.
Okay.
Yeah, and in the past, the festivals were kind of like organized by different groups, organizations, or companies.
Yes.
It's a kind of like tender thing. So Minister Long In-tai would like to see that this important festival have a home.
Okay.
So we were the home considered by
to continue to organize this.
Yeah. So we did it once, and it's going to be held again next year.
Good.
Yeah. So we look forward to seeing all the audience coming back.
Yeah. And Mr. Lin, since that the Taiwan International Documentary Festival, is such an important event.
Yeah.
In your conversation with filmmakers from all over the world, what do you think are some of the challenges and also opportunities for Taiwan documentary filmmakers?
Okay. I don't think I'm the right person to answer this question. Our programmer, Wood Lin, I think he's a key person in organizing the festival, and he met
many of the filmmakers.
So far as I know, I think first, most of the films, documentary films, made in Taiwan do not have enough budget.
Okay.
So they are small. In terms of, again, when we talked about international market, there's a kind of standard that a lot of our films can't even dream to reach that.
Okay.
It has to be a big production.
All right.
And secondly, I think it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. Many of our documentary filmmakers, they care about very local issues. They care about Taiwan. They care about our land, environmental issues, our people, and so they made documentary films with a mission.
All right.
And so it's the dialogue is more with our local audience or even government than with the outside world. Yeah.
Yes.
So that make the promotion of our documentaries slightly difficult.
Yes.
Yeah. So we are still trying to find out ways to let our documentaries known be more known to the world.
I think you have identified a very key factor for not just documentary filmmakers, but also regular drama filmmakers. It's a sense we need to speak international language.
Yeah.
We got to have a theme, that's that can ring a bell with other people around the globe, not just for Taiwan itself.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. And Mr. Lin, we've been talking about the different functions and activities done by TFI. And we also understand that one of the missions, as you mentioned at the beginning of the program, for TFI is on education.
Yep.
Let more people know about, to appreciate about Taiwan films. And so far, we understand that, there's been some efforts, devoted in that area. Can you tell us a little bit about how has been the response, so far at this point?
Okay. We know that, for example, France, they had a long tradition of teaching kids about cinema, about film.
Yes.
And so we want to do the same. But in Taiwan, it's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Our kids, they have a lot to learn or
already.
Forced to learn.
Yes.
And film or cinema was not listed in the guideline of what to teach for our teachers. So that's what we hope to do, to put at least a few hours into the curriculum. Of our elementary and high school.
Yes.
But so far it's still very, very difficult.
Slow coming.
Yeah. So we try to take another route to make films available. So we selected 6 films for elementary school, 6 films for junior high. The films are selected for their content and also for their teachability. It's easier for teachers to handle. So we provide a sort of textbook for teachers, not for kids. So we put these writings online. So teachers who are interested in bringing these films into their classroom, they could be well prepared just by following our material.
Good.
So that's what it's kind of like a voluntary act.
Yes.
And we also we are commissioned by the Ministry of Culture to every year we invite students, high school students, to a camp to teach them more about films.
Yes.
We do workshops, many runs in Taipei, Taichung, Kaohsiung for teachers.
Yes.
It's like a 2 days workshop to teach them how to use this material. We also send filmmakers, teachers to schools that have less resources to bring students to at least know something about films.
Yes.
So these are activities that so far has I think generated very, very good responses from the teachers.
Yes.
And we hope to do more every year to add more films to the list, to get more people understand that it's very, very important for our kids to begin to watch good films.
Okay.
Yeah.
We also understand that for any industry to be successful, to be competitive, the people are very important, the talent.
Yeah.
And we, of course, there's been a lot of interest about Taiwan films, but also we need to address the issue of brain drain.
Yeah.
We have some very talented, actors, actresses, directors, writers, maybe moving over, to China market simply because the fact that it's bigger. Sure, there could be more opportunities available.
Yeah.
And even Hollywood is now taking China market very seriously. And people expect by the year 2020, China will be the biggest, the #1 box office, market in the world, surpassing the U.S. So, as the chief executive of TFI, how can we, try to reduce the brain drain issues that we have seen in the film industry so far?
Again, I don't know. I'm the right person to answer this. TFI so far is still more for film preservation and promotion.
Okay.
So the industry side is still very much Ministry of Culture has a bureau and a department handling all these. But my own observation first is China is such a huge market. I think this year the growth is 40%.
Yeah.
Okay, if I remember the figure correctly, it's like 44 billion. So it's amazing, and it's very difficult for us to tell our talents, don't go there.
Yeah.
They will go, unless we have something for them on the island.
Okay.
And that's what we need to work on.
Yeah.
But so far, it's still very difficult. We hope to bring the government's attention to the lack of attention to like the to issues like film preservation, film education.
Okay.
We don't even have film studies program in over 130 or 40 universities and colleges. There's no one film studies graduate program devoted to the study of films.
Okay.
Yeah. So how could we produce enough teachers to go to schools to teach our young generation the importance of film. Cinema, and when the overall situation is like this, it's really difficult to keep our talents here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And we also understand that TFI has a very important responsibility in terms of promoting, Taiwan films to the international community. But given the fact that the international market is getting very, competitive, how can the TFI try to come up with, plans or, measures, try to promote the films that are made in Taiwan each year?
For Minister Lin Wen-Chi, who set up TFI, was to let us be more, to let TFI contribute more in terms of what you just mentioned. But so far, it's not happening yet.
No.
We are like commissioned by the Ministry of Culture to do what they ask us to do.
Okay.
For example, how to promote Taiwan cinema. We are asked to like set up booth in like Berlin Film Festival, the European market, at Cannes Film Festival, Busan, and American film market. We are only asked to do that.
Okay.
And to host probably a party. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's still not up to us to decide what to do.
Okay.
Yeah, we get some budget. We do something. So I hope that maybe we could work together with the ministry to find out what better role we can play.
All right.
Yeah, but so far what we can do is to really make more important key persons in the international film circle to know about our directors, our films, so that they could have more interest in us.
And Mr. Lin, finally, in your private, personal capacity and your conversations and interactions with local filmmakers, actresses, actors, writers. What do you think, based on your conversations with them, they have discovered or they have learned? What are some of the challenges and opportunities for Taiwanese films in general in the future? What do you think?
One is, of course, we lack talents. I think there was a long period of kind of like sleeping time of Taiwan film industry.
Okay.
And so we didn't have enough support.
No.
From the technical part.
No.
So when a lot of films were in production, there was a shortage of technical support,
yes.
like for lighting, for cameramen. But sometimes there's a period of like very few films are made.
Yeah.
And so you can't keep those technicians.
Yeah.
So that's one big problem. And we also need good writers to write stories.
Yes.
Yeah. And so in many aspects, I really think the government probably could be more strategic in terms of how to support the local film companies,
yes.
filmmakers.
Okay.
They all work very hard and they are experienced. It's just that in Taiwan, our market is so small.
Yes.
And so we need to find a way to work with China.
Yes.
To exploit the
bigger market.
The market there,
yes,
without suffering from like political.
Yes. Results and things.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Mr. Lin, truly being a pleasure to have you on the program today. Want to wish you all the best in your future personal and professional endeavors.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for watching our program today. I'll see you next time on MacroView Television. Thank you.